Ethan Rourke never believed in God. He believed in logic, in atoms and stars, in the cold, hard math of the cosmos. As a writer, he sharpened his wit on the stone of religion, mocking faith in articles, debating preachers for sport, and wearing his atheism like a badge of honor. So the irony wasn't lost on him when his life ended in the parking lot of a church. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind of day where the sky weeps and the world seems gray and blurred. A car skidded on the slick asphalt, its headlights flaring into blinding stars. Then impact, and everything went dark. Ethan's body was thrown, his head striking the concrete curb with a sickening crack. The world, with all its logic and reason, dissolved into an absolute, silent blackness. And then, just as suddenly, it dissolved into light. When Ethan opened his eyes, he wasn't in a hospital. He wasn't lying in the rain-soaked parking lot. He was floating, adrift in a vast, endless space of shifting colors and soft, pulsating light. There was no ground, no sky, just an infinite expanse of pure consciousness. A voice filled him, not with sound, but with pure meaning, a thought that resonated in the very core of his being. "You've come further than most." The voice was deep, yet peaceful, almost euphoric, but it still sent a jolt through Ethan's newfound form. "What the hell?" he managed to mutter, his own voice feeling foreign. The voice corrected him instantly, a hint of amusement in its tone. "Not hell, consciousness, God consciousness." Ethan let out a laugh, a dry, cracked sound. "God? Really? You've got to be kidding me. You're not real. You're just a hallucination from my dying brain." "And yet," the voice replied, its presence undeniable, "here we are speaking." The light around him began to shift, condensing, coalescing into a form. A towering figure made of pure radiance stood before him, faceless yet intensely present, somehow both infinite and intimately close. "You call me God," the figure resonated, "but what I am is far older, far stranger." With a gesture that was more a thought than a movement, the void filled with words, floating verses from the Bible written in shimmering light. Genesis, Exodus, Revelation. "You have always misunderstood this book," the voice explained. "Humanity thinks it tells one story, one single timeline, but it is many, a collection of simulations." Ethan was stunned. Simulations like computer programs? "Like layered dreams," the voice clarified. "I create, humanity evolves, and knowledge spreads. But it always spreads too quickly. They learn too fast, grow too ambitious, and then they phase me out. They forget the source. So I reset. Each reset leaves behind fragments, memories of the previous cycle, recorded as scripture. The words get rearranged, the stories shift, but the pattern remains. Let me show you." Images flashed through Ethan's mind. Simulation 1. Adam and Eve. A perfect garden, a simple test, a fall from grace. Simulation 2. Noah's Ark. A world consumed by a great flood, a cleansing, a restart. And Simulation 3. The one Ethan knew, the modern world. The voice suddenly grew stern, laced with a hint of something that felt like sadness. "When Eve bit the fruit, it was not simple disobedience. It was acceleration. Knowledge spread faster than I intended. It gave rise to technology, a lust for control, unchecked ambition, a world where I was no longer needed, no longer worshipped." "So you punished them?" Ethan asked, a surge of his old defiant anger rising within him. "No, Ethan, I reset. I wrote their story down as a warning." The scene shifted again. New images filled the void. A world before Noah's flood, a civilization of shimmering cities powered by knowledge stolen from an age far beyond their own. They had machines of light, towers that pierced the heavens, a society that had come to see itself as gods. When mankind's knowledge grows too quickly, the voice boomed, they remove me from their lives. They crown themselves gods. That is when the cycle must reset. The Great Flood was not just water, Ethan. It was a purge of memory, a drowning of forbidden knowledge. And Noah? Ethan asked, his voice barely a whisper. There was a pause, a chosen fragment, a restart file, humanity reinstalled. Before Ethan's very eyes, the familiar verses of Genesis twisted and morphed, resolving into lines of complex digital code. The ark, the pairs of animals, they became metaphors for genetic preservation, a backup for a corrupted system. Do you see now, Ethan? The voice asked, laying it all out for him. The Bible is not a prophecy of one end. It is a record of many ends. Each time humanity grows, learns, and forgets me, and each time I end the world. The void filled with a rapid succession of scenes, the serpent coiled around the tree of knowledge with Eve, the torrential flood swallowing those glittering hubristic cities, fire and brimstone raining down from the sky as described in Revelation. They were all different, yet eerily the same. Different simulations, same catastrophic conclusion. You are living in the third simulation, the voice stated, its tone now cold and final. And you are nearing its prophecy. Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. You're saying, our end is coming soon, he whispered, his own anger now replaced by a profound sense of dread. Knowledge spreads faster now than ever before, the voice justified. You have artificial minds, machines that replace faith. You are phasing me out again. The reset is coming. The radiant figure seemed to lean closer, its voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that filled the universe. Ethan, the lifelong atheist, the debater, the mocker of faith, trembled. He had spent his life laughing at this very idea, yet here it was, undeniable all around him. On the verge of tears, he finally asked the question that burned in his mind. Why? Why show me this? Why me? The voice thundered, shaking his very essence. Because you never believed, and yet you always questioned. Your doubt is proof of a searching mind, and your fear now is proof that you understand. So what? What do you want me to do? Ethan pleaded. You will return, the voice commanded. You will speak of what you saw. Very few will believe you. Most will call you a madman, but the knowledge will spread, and in its spreading, it will fulfill the prophecy. Ethan's eyes widened in horror as the terrifying realization dawned on him. His heart dropped into a pit of nothingness. So I'm part of the reset? Part of the problem? You always were. And with those final words, the light consumed him. Ethan woke up with a violent gasp. He was in a hospital bed. The steady, rhythmic beeping of heart monitors filled the sterile air. He saw doctors and nurses rush to his side, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. He'd been clinically dead for 3 minutes. He tried to speak, to tell them what he'd seen, but his throat was raw, his voice gone. A nurse handed him a notepad. With a shaking hand, he scribbled the only words that mattered. The Bible is simulations. We're in the third. The nurses exchanged uneasy glances, patting his arm with practiced, patronizing comfort. In the months that followed, Ethan did exactly as he was told. He gave interviews, wrote books, and spoke to anyone who would listen. As predicted, most people laughed him off. Some were afraid. The conspiracy theorists embraced him as a prophet. The religious leaders denounced him as a heretic. But quietly, insidiously, a seed of unease began to spread. His story went viral, shared and debated and twisted across the internet. The knowledge was spreading, and late at night, when Ethan was alone in the quiet of his room, he would still hear that voice echoing in the chambers of his mind. Knowledge spreads too fast. The reset comes. And sometimes, in those dark, lonely hours, he would wonder if he had truly seen God, or if he was just an unwitting pawn, perfectly playing his role in the next and final prophecy. Thanks for watching. What do you think? Was Ethan's experience real, or just the last dream of a dying mind? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy stories that question everything, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. For my full content, go check me out at Don't Drink That, anywhere you get your podcasts. To submit your short stories, go to don'tdrinkthat25@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this biblical horror. Stay safe, and remember, don't drink that.